part 3, we are going to talk about the kernel in the operating system. So what is kernel? Kernel, if you consider the operating system, it is the lower layer of the operating system. So it is actually the part of the operating system, and the kernel can provide services to all the parts of the operating system. That is important. This kernel can also act as a interface between the processor as well as the hardware. Now processors means what? Processors are those applications, right? The applications. So you have to understand that this kernel would act as an interface between what? This can act as an interface between the hardware and the processes of the computer. That means if you consider this particular image here, you can see that applications are there and the hardware is there. That is CPU, memory, devices. So kernel, which is present in the operating system, can basically act as an interface between this application and the hardware part, because it resides inside the operating system. So it actually provides services to the other parts of the operating system. Kernel provides services to the other parts of the operating system. So whenever you are switching on the computer first, we know the operating system would get loaded. So at the same time, the kernel would be loaded into the memory first, and it will reside in the memory until the OS is shut down. Until OS is shut down, it will reside in the memory itself. That is written here. So kernel loads first in the memory after the operating system has been loaded, and it remains in the memory until the OS is basically shut down. So this much we have understood. Now what are the main functions? As I told you, it provides services to the operating system. So the operating system do some functions like device management, the file management, task management, memory management, right? So memory, task, devices, all the management is basically done by the kernel actually. So basically in memory, we can say the memory has two parts, the user part and the protected kernel part. This is important here. User space is nothing but where the applications will be executed in the memory, but protected kernel part is not visible to the user, where these functions like the device management, memory management, task management are basically being done, and no other applications can be allowed in it. Only those functions which is done by the kernel will be placed here, and it will be not visible to the user, right? And no other applications other than the kernel services can be allowed here. So we can finally say that kernel is what? Kernel is a system software. We can say kernel is a system software because it is a part of the operating system. That is why we can say it is also a system software, right? So this is about the kernel in the operating system.